ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, August 22nd. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We get this thing started with your text. Always do that at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I've got comments today from Marshall quarterback Cam Fancher. Also, we'll hear a little bit from Marshall linebacker Neal. That's coming up later on in the program. And as I mentioned, text, of course, always welcome. We're getting closer to the start of college football season. Yesterday, we talked about some of the games that are happening. I actually printed out game notes for the first time this season. That's when it's real for me. And, of course, there weren't Marshall game notes. It was Albany football game notes. Yes, I printed out the Albany game notes from 0 week. Not even the Marshall game. It's the Great Danes versus the Rams. I am getting set for Albany football this week. Hey, it's 0 week. That's Marshall's first opponent. Why not? I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to have some fun with it. Should be a fun game. It was a high-scoring game last year between these two. So we'll keep an eye on this. And, of course, their game is going to be Saturday. I can't watch it, though. It's on Flow Football. I don't have Flow Football. I might try to listen to it, see if it's going to be streamed anywhere, but I can't watch it. That's the only thing I hate. I would have actually spent part of Saturday. I mean, they're playing at 7 o'clock. I would have spent part of Saturday evening watching this game if I had Flow Football. Thankfully, this is the reason why Marshall put itself in a position to be in a conference where you can find the games. I can't stress that enough. You can find the games. You want to watch a Marshall game? Most of the time, it's going to be on ESPN Plus. And, of course, if it's not football or basketball, you'll find it there. If it is football and basketball, of course, you've got another option. You got us. We'll have all the games all season long right here on ESPN 94.1. and AM 930. So it's a week 0 matchup against Fordham. It'll be the first season opener at home for Albany since 2014. Can you believe that? This is a team that goes on the road a lot. And they have you looked at their schedule? If you haven't, I've got it right here. They'll open up with Fordham and then 3 weeks on the road. At Marshall, then at Hawaii, then at Morgan State. And then on September 30th, they'll come back and they will play Villanova. And then on the road for 2, at Townsend and at New Hampshire. You remember New Hampshire? Then they'll play home Rhode Island. And then back on the road 2 of the last 4. At Maine, home against William and Mary. They'll be at Stony Brook, and then they will finish it out against Monmouth. It's got to be rough to be a Albany football fan. You get one game in August. You get one game in September. You get one game in October at home. And then October, I guess at least you can travel. But November, you get 2 games. How tough is it? I would think that you would want to play. You want to try to get as many home games as you could early. Just with weather. I'm interested. I want to find out more about Albany. So we're going to do that next week. I'm going to line up some of the folks from Albany to come on the show. So we'll get into all of that. But, yeah, that's me right now. I'm starting to look at the Albany notes, trying to kind of figure out a little bit more about them. You know what? Camp ended for Coach Huff. They're now into execution season. Hey, it's execution season here for us. So we'll get your text in this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. As I mentioned, we're going to hear a little bit from Cam Fancher today. We'll also hear some from Neal, and then we'll get your thoughts on that. We've got some news of the day to get into, some good stuff happening. We'll talk a little soccer later on, but keeping with football for just a minute, there are a couple of Comeback Player of the Year nominees. Did you know this was a thing? It's a list released by the College Sports Communicators. It's in association with the Associated Press and the Fiesta Bowl organization. And Marshall running back Rasheen Ali and linebacker Steven Dix Jr. named among 100 nominees for the 2023 Comeback Player of the Year. This is a watch list. Of course, Ali and Dix had injuries, and they've overcome those. They had injuries in 2022, so they're back for the 2023 season. And Ali, get this. Ali's return to the field, I think, set this up because he rushed for 273 yards and a touchdown in the final 3 games, including being named the MVP in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So this is setting up for him. I don't want to sound like I'm discounting any of the other people on the list, but if Rasheen Ali has the season we think he's going to have, if he has anything close to the season we think he's going to have, dial this award up. This is the Rasheen Ali Award. If you're going to dial one up, just because of the circumstances, he might be a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year. And that's not discounting anything that Steven Dix Jr. will do. That's just dialing up Rasheen Ali. Ali, let's be honest, his 2021 season, 1,401 yards. Also, tying for the FBS lead in rushing touchdowns at 23, which earned him a spot on the 2021 Football Writers Association of America Freshman All-American team. Already named to the Doak Walker Award watch list. So he's definitely going to be a strong candidate. If he has the season I think he's going to have for an award like this, it's going to be a great story. He goes from one of the brightest stars in college football to what are you going to do without him? And now he's back. And if he can stay healthy and he can have a productive season, which I think he will, this is going to be amazing. And, of course, hey, guess what? You got a guy like Steven Dix Jr., Florida State transfer, missed the entire 2022 season due to injury. But guy had a lot of promise. So the college football award season is always fun, and I like this award. Comeback Player of the Year. It's been recognizing college football players who have overcome challenges to compete since 2018, and here's how this thing is selected. It's a panel of college football writers, editors, and sports information directors. It's going to be announced at the Fiesta Bowl at the end of the season. So we'll find out end of the season. But honestly, I'd like to see the other 98 nominees to find out what the competition looks like. I'll have to look that up. But I got the release from Marshall. So Rasheen Ali, maybe it's too soon, but he has a season close to what he had. I think he'll have a better season. He's got a little bit more experience under his belt now. He has a season that is better than that. I want to see what the competition looks like. This is the Rasheen Ali Award. If I've never, ever been willing to put money down on anything, I would say if I was betting, give me Rasheen Ali to win Comeback Player of the Year. That's the kind of season I'm hoping he has. So we'll get your text in. We'll do that. We'll open that up now. 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. Yesterday, we heard from Coach Huff. Today, we're going to hear from Cam Fancher. We'll also hear from Eli Neal. And we'll get some of your text in. We'll talk a little bit later about soccer. A Sun Belt Soccer Defensive Player of the Week honor coming the Herd's way. We'll get into that when we continue with this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Our text line is open. You can do that right now at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's the number to be a part of today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We're going to hear from Eli Neal in just a few minutes. We're going to hear now from Cam Fancher. We talked a lot about Cam yesterday, especially some of the comments that Coach Huff had about him, seeing a lot of improvement, a lot of maturity. He's developing. He's actually been someone who's been around now, so you're seeing a little bit more, I don't want to say swagger, but presence. I think that was a word that Coach Huff really keyed in on. He's got presence. Guys they'll play harder for you. They'll have more intensity. They'll have more confidence. They want to make sure the quarterback's protected. I'm not saying that players don't want to do a great job, but if it's a guy that they've known for a while back there and they like him and they're confident in him, I mean, they're going to do everything they can for the guy. You're going to get that the extra bush. I mean, I guess the word I'm looking for is they're going to protect their guy. That's probably the best way to say it. They're going to protect their guy. We're going to look out for their guy. But Cam Fancher is becoming his own man. He's maturing into the quarterback role. Hopefully we're going to see that this year. A couple of people on text yesterday not really confident in that, so we'll see. I know Albany's not going to be the real test that we're looking for, but hopefully in the next few weeks after the season starts, East Carolina, Virginia Tech will get a really good test of what he will look like under fire with adversity against two solid programs before you get into conference play. So, of course, ODU coming up real quick. Conference play coming up real quick here, sooner than you think. So we'll get into all of that with Cam Fancher as we progress through the season. That's a question we'll revisit. How confident are you in Cam Fancher? That's probably going to be the question we'll ask a lot. How comfortable, how confident are you in Cam Fancher? So we'll open that up today. How comfortable are you with Cam Fancher as the quarterback? Text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And I had a chance to catch up with Cam. We had a media availability after the conclusion of camp. And I asked Cam a few things. And one of the questions that was also asked of Cam was just what was different this year? And he talked about that.
I think just really knowing the offense, really being comfortable with the whole playbook. Comfortable with the guys, just building that chemistry with everybody. Just coming into every day, trying to stack each day, taking it one day at a time. It's really I take that every day, but I think this year I felt more comfortable just back there.
Yeah, he should feel more comfortable. He knows the playbook a little bit better. He's had a little bit more repetition running the offense. He's the guy. He should be the guy. If you're the quarterback, if you're the guy, you should feel comfortable back there. And you should do everything you possibly can to make sure that you feel comfortable back there. And that's including taking care of your guys up front, your offensive line. You got to make sure that they're comfortable and confident in you, because if you want to feel comfortable back there, you got to know those guys believe in you and have your back, and you got to be doing everything you possibly can. It's called, I guess, to use Coach Huff's term and just use that phrase, it's presence. He's got that presence now. And he talked about, as we were going over how things were going, he talked to us about how everything has improved.
I think just everybody keying in on what their job is, plan and play out. Just seeing them really not worrying about what the guy next to them is doing, trusting what that guy's doing, and just going out and executing. Our coaches, all the offensive staff, all the whole staff, they give us the keys for us to be successful, and it's just about us going out and executing. So I feel like just everybody worrying about doing their job is what's been the biggest thing.
Hey, Marvin Lewis said that one time, do your job. I'm sure he got that from somewhere else, but do your job. Everyone's doing their job now. And I thought it was cool, just to move off a little bit from camp and Fancher directly, I thought it was cool that Byron Leftwich was there because it gave a guy like Cam Fancher an opportunity to talk to him. Of course, if you're looking for leadership in football, a guy you want to point to if you're a Marshall fan is Byron Leftwich. You knew that he was the quarterback. There was no questioning that. He was the guy. His players at one point carrying him down the field so he can continue on the Akron game. We talk about that a lot because that's a moment, but that just highlights the kind of quarterback that Byron Leftwich was. And I asked Cam about, did you know much about him? And he said that he looked it up. He did his research. Knew he's coming to Marshall, so he made sure that he was up to date on everything. So he knew about Byron Leftwich, did his research, knows the history, knows the lore. I mean, you have to. If you're the quarterback at Marshall University, if you're going to be the quarterback, you need to know about the quarterback position, the history of it, and Chapter 1, it might not be Chad Pennington, but it's got to be up there. And Chapter 2 might not be Byron Leftwich, but it's up there. It might be in the introduction. You might need to see those names at least in the introduction before you go through the chapters of Marshall quarterback history. But those guys have probably got a couple of the biggest chapters in that book. So opportunity to talk to the guy, pick his brain, learn from him. And I asked him, what'd you guys talk about? What'd he say to you? And Cam shared that with us.
So he came in and sat in our meeting room, so we got to talk to him for a little bit. It's definitely a blessing for him to be here. It just shows how much the alumni care, and for him to be there, it definitely was a blessing for him to be here for sure. One thing he said was, it's easy to play the position when everything's going right, but when things go wrong, do you have a plan? Do you know what you're going to do? So that definitely stuck with me, just being prepared for any situation, just things like that.
Have a plan. That's good advice, and I'm sure he shared some other things as well. That's what Cam decided to share with us. So have a plan. Everything, when it's going right, everything is great. What's your plan going to be when you get punched in the mouth? What's your plan going to be when it starts to fall apart? When it comes in contact with the opponent. When your plan comes in contact with the opponent and your plan all of a sudden changes, it falls apart, or it needs adjustment, what are you going to do? What's your plan? What's your backup plan? What are you going to do? How do you adjust? So that's some good advice there. So we're going to need to see that. We need to see a quarterback that can go out there, and if the script isn't working, go off script. If you need to make the adjustment, make the adjustment. Know what you're doing. Have a plan. Have a backup plan. That's why Plan B. That's why you have Plan B, because Plan A usually doesn't work. Text lines 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I think I want to save Eli Neal for the next break. I want to save him. We'll get into a little bit of what Eli had to say. This is last camp, so he had some things to say about that. And there's a guy that he is tired of looking at and going up against. He talked about getting excited because, now that camp's over, you're getting into, as Coach Huff said, execution season. You're game planning now. You're starting to get ready to plan for somebody else, the opponent. And so that's exciting to him. And he talked about how he's excited for that. It's going to be harder, of course, because camp's over, so now it ramps up. Game week is going to be hard. Get ready for an opponent. All of that doesn't get easier. Now, you do all of this work to make the game easy. That's sort of the idea. You put all this work in so when you go out there on Saturday, it's easy. And he's excited for that. But he also said he's just tired of seeing certain guys. And I asked him, so who are you tired of seeing the most? We'll find out who that person is when we continue. Plus your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. What's our confidence level with the quarterback position at Marshall University? How comfortable are we with Cam Fancher as the quarterback? Text line is open for your thoughts on that, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Our text line is open. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter wrote in and asked, do you think Marshall's athletic director is a candidate for the Ohio State job since he has connections to him? That's an interesting question. I can't speak for Christian Spears if he would consider the job. I will say this from personal experience. If I was somebody that was in a position to be considered for a high-profile job like the athletic director's position at Ohio State, I would seriously take the phone call. So if Christian Spears were to get that phone call, he should take the phone call. I would take the phone call. Anyone that is in that position should take the phone call. Now, does that lead to it actually being the right job for you? I don't know. But if I was a candidate for this job, yeah, I seriously look at it. Now, do I think he's a candidate? I can't answer that question. I think he's not been on the job long enough to want to, plant his flag and say, okay, I've achieved victory here. I look at everything that I've done. I think it's look at what I'm doing. I've got things still going. I have things to do. I think that is where he's at right now in his career. He might want to be the athletic director forever at Marshall University. Or if Ohio State would call, he would be, I think, a smart man to take that phone call, to be honest with you. You hate to say that. You hate to see good people go, but the good news is that you have an opportunity to bring good people in, and the bad news is you're losing someone really good. It's sort of that cycle that, okay, you're losing someone really good, but hey, here's an opportunity to bring someone in that's also really good and give them a shot. But I don't know if he's a candidate for the Ohio State job only because of the fact that there are things that are going on at Marshall now that I'm sure that he still wants to finish, complete. I don't think he's a guy that just says, all right, I'm done. You know what? We put up a new scoreboard at the stadium. We remodeled some hallways. We did some painting around here. Okay. We got light poles that are being hooked up now and installed at the dot. Got this baseball park going. Okay, I think I'm good. No, I think there's a few more years in his career at Marshall University before I would be concerned as a fan that bigger schools might come a-calling. As it is right now, I think he's got a mission. He's got things he's doing. I mean, hasn't been on the job, but a year? I think it's been just a year plus. I don't have the exact timetable, but it's a year plus. I think he's got things to do before I would concern myself with him being a candidate for a job like this. But with that said, I can't speak for him. I don't know what his thought process is, what he would be thinking. But if he got the phone call from Ohio State, he should absolutely consider anything that they have to say. Absolutely. You consider that. And, connections do help. It helps to know somebody because they can vouch for you. Coaches like working with people that they know. That's why it's important to network and get to know more people so you can grow your opportunities. That's something I have learned very, very recently and, for a long time now. It's reaffirmed to me that you gotta know people. You have to make connections. You have to build relationships. And then you got to be careful not to wreck those relationships. That's sort of the dance we all do, and especially in athletics. Try not to wreck those relationships. And if you mess them up a little bit, try to repair them. All right, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Good news today. Marshall has a player named to the Defensive Player of the Week honor out of the Sun Belt. Alexis Wogelmuth. I knew I would have to say that today. So we're going to try to get her on the show Friday. I think it's Wogelmuth. Wogelmuth. And I only question the pronunciation on this because I have someone whose last name is Muth, and it's spelled the same way. So that's where I'm going here. But it's Alexa Wogelmuth, Marshall sophomore goalkeeper, named Sun Belt Conference Women's Soccer Defensive Player of the Week. She leads NCAA Division I goalkeepers who haven't conceded a goal with 14 saves this season. Among 21 goalkeepers, she is already one that has achieved multiple shutouts in the 2023 season. And the Herd's undefeated right now. The Herd is undefeated. They take on Indiana State. That's coming up. So the Herd could be 3-0. Could you imagine? Come Friday. I think we're going to get her on the show Friday. 3-0. Undefeated, starting off the season. That's what we're looking for here with Michael Swann's squad. That's what we're shooting for here. Undefeated, 3-0. I know it's early. It's absolutely early. I get it. But still, that's what we're kind of shooting for here. I want to see all the hard work that Coach Swann and that squad have put in to make this program better start to pay off. And a 3-0 start would be a great way to say, look, it's early, but we're getting results. So congratulations to Alexis Wogelmuth, Marshall's sophomore goalkeeper, named Sun Belt Conference Women's Soccer Defensive Player of the Week. Our text line is always open for you during the show at 304-396-8255, 304-396-TALK. But if you're on social media, I'm on the platform formerly known as Twitter. They call it X now. And you can find me there at Paul Swann. Always looking forward to hearing from you there. And if you're on Twitter/X, you can give me a follow at Paul Swann. Again, that's at Paul Swann. And while you're there, if you want to make sure that you don't miss the podcast, you'll get the link. We've got the link to every episode posted. It's on my social media account. We'll post it there. You can also go to our website, wrvc.com. If you haven't done that yet, what you're going to find is the latest episode. The latest episode's always going to be posted. Or if you missed a couple of days and you want to go back and catch up, you can pull those up as well. We make it easy for you. It's right there on the front page. You can't miss it. All you have to do is go to wrvc.com. You can get the podcast there. And while you're there, there's some other things you can do. You can download the app. We've got the links to the phone directories on your app store that you need to find. Say you have an iPhone, you need to go through the app store directory of apps and okay, Paul, I don't want to really go through this. That's fine. I get that. I've got the link right there. It's real easy. I mean, actually, open up your phone web browser, type wrvc.com, go to it, and you click on the app store that corresponds with your device, and then it'll take you right there, and you can install it. It's real easy. I've had to show a lot of people how to do this recently, so I feel like I'm in teacher mode. But it's great if you get this app because now you can listen to the station live. That includes Marshall games. That includes the show. That includes high school football on a Friday night. That includes, I missed the podcast, but it's posted on this app. I can go to this app and listen to the podcast. So many things you can do with the app. You can also even set it up as like a clock alarm. That's cool. All right, that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate every one of you being with me here today. Back tomorrow. We're going to do it all over again on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And don't forget, if you missed anything today or previous day, or you think somebody would like to listen to the show, let them know. We're on live at 5. Also, the podcast is available, WRVC.com. Once again, thanks for tuning in to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.